From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Welcome in. Wake up! I didn't say that the other day, Corey. Get on me if I don't say wake up.
No.
People got to hear wake up.
No, I think it's fine either way. I'll be honest.
Coming to you from the Southwood offices, it's Wake Up War Chant. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Corey, how are you?
Good, buddy. Good. Always good when I get to see your face and talk at the same time.
Likewise.
Thanks.
Likewise. We'll be splitting up, though, later this week. You'll be back in Beaufort. I'll be back at the Midtown offices, but we'll keep this train going. Good program out of you yesterday. Feel good about today.
Thanks, man.
Got to speak to we'll speak to the defense later on Wednesday. Tuesday was the offense's turn. Walt Bell, assorted offensive players. Hey, man, not a lot of good stuff right now, but, man, they do keep giving us players. They keep giving us kids that want to talk.
Even linemen. I mean, it's Eberle, really, but we got Cole Minshew for the first time. That was nice. Eberle's kind of been the spokesman for that group for the first 3 weeks of the season, but Cole Minshew, we asked for him. We got him. Got DJ, got Keith Gavin, got Francois again. I wasn't there for Francois. It didn't sound like he was great. But we talked about this, I think, yesterday or the day before about how he really is good after games.
Yeah.
That's when he's at his best and most engaging.
Yeah.
He obviously, before practice.
He's not a morning guy. He's not like us. He's like us. He's like us. He's not a morning guy.
Doesn't really have the time for it. None of us want to be there in the morning. No. You know, none of us do.
Ira does, though.
Ira's weird. Ira never sleeps. But I thought Walt Bell was pretty good. Mm-hmm. I liked the quote he had that his dad told him. He's like, maybe the best advice I ever got is nobody cares about your problems. And, in fact, most people are happy you have problems, which is
That's a sad reality, kids.
It's
That's true.
Yeah, now
That's
Walt
true.
Bell was getting a sad dose of reality from his old man, sounds like, at an early age, kind of maybe shaped his mindset a little bit about going through life. But there's certainly a lot of truth to that. And Walt Bell's point, Walt Belly is a good name. Going to start calling him Walt Belly if he keeps averaging 5 points a game, because they've gone, dare I say, belly up.
Oh,
just happened,
this
folks.
guy.
That was off the cuff. I know you guys probably think this is produced and we had rehearsed that, but no, that was off the dome.
Organic.
But he was talking about in relation to Florida State, and nobody does care about your problems at Florida State. The fans don't care about your O-line problems. They want a better product, which is what they're used to, obviously. And that's what you're paid to do. You can't just throw your hands up and say, man, we got problems at the O-line. We're going to average about 5 or 7 points a game for the rest of the season. That's not going to cut it. Walt Bell knows that. And he did say, like Taggart, I think, alluded to earlier in the week, that they're everything's on the table. Everything's on the table for what they can do to get this offense going.
I see. They say that, and I'm not trying to say that they're being dishonest, but I think there's only so much you can do. I think I saw a couple threads on warchant.com. Become a member, warchant30, promo code, use it. That, after listening to Walt Bell's comments, I feel like maybe they're opening the door for maybe coming out in some I-form and playing some pro concepts. And I'm like, yeah, no, they're not going. We're never going to. I don't know if we'll ever see a quarterback under center with his hands grazing the backside of a center and taking a snap. They're not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not like Willie's been running this thing for 20 years. I mean, he did do that stuff like 4 years ago.
See, I saw somebody tweeted that at us, and I responded to the guy.
Because I do think he should do some power element running game stuff, even if it's not I formation. Do some different stuff, but do some 2 tight end sets. Try to figure something else out, because I think this is a really interesting game for me. And I thought, now that we know what this O-line is, I think what happened at the end of that Samford game, and kind of frankly, they left a lot of touchdowns on the board in that game. They probably should have scored 17 against Virginia Tech. They actually did score a touchdown that just didn't count. I think they thought after the Samford game, okay, we got to get better, but it's there. We can do this with this offensive line. If we make the right reads, if our quarterback makes the right reads, if he hands it off here instead of throws it out wide, that's a touchdown. If he keeps it here instead of handing it off, it's a touchdown. Whatever. The plays were there to be made, I think they thought. All that did really against Samford, it was Samford. They ended up losing to Mercer the following week. Mercer scored as many points as Florida State did. That just gave these coaches a false sense of self when it came, I think, to this offense. Syracuse was the slap in the face of reality. Like, really. It wasn't the opener. when everybody's nervous. It wasn't the FCS school. It was on 4 days rest. It was a whole week to prepare for a defense that had given up over 600 yards to Western Michigan. And that was the reality of what you have now. So I do think everything's on the table. I think after that game, I would hope that at 4:15 on Saturday, as they're in the locker room, certainly when they're on the plane back, they're huddling trying to figure out, okay, what can we do? What can we install? What can we take away? What can we do to get this running game going and to protect this offensive line? Because having him sit back there, blocking 4 with your 5, and that's it, and not making any changes at all is not effective.
Well, they are going to make some changes due to necessity. I saw Brady Scott lining up at first.
Yeah,
team
but more
right
than just
tackle.
personnel. It's not the line's the line. Like it's
Right.
not like you're getting Walter Jones. So no matter what you do, it's deck chairs on the Titanic. But that maybe not the best analogy. But you got to change.
Too soon?
Yeah, I mean it's only been like 106 years. Well, I don't want Florida State. I don't want to call this a sinking ship.
Right.
It's certainly, there's an
It's
iceberg.
rough waters.
It's rough waters. Maybe there's an iceberg ahead. We can't see it. The captain doesn't need to be drunk right now, though. I can promise you that. But
Was the captain of the Titanic drunk?
Man, in the movie, they made it seem like
Never
he was
saw
a
the
little
movie.
Really?
Never saw the movie.
Oh, well, they all die at the end.
Okay.
Kate Winslet, kicks Leonardo DiCaprio off the door.
Really?
Yeah. He's trying to hold on for dear life, and she's like, sorry, I want to live to 106. So peace. Don't listen. Ira's here.
The great Irish Showfelt joining us here at the Southwood offices.
Commenting. So that's what happens. And they find a pot of gold. Long story. Weird movie, but you'd like it. But you have to change something. You have to change.
I'm with you, but I just don't. They're like everything's on the table. What can you install in 5 days?
I mean, I think you could do a whole half of the diamond formation with the running back. The play that was the debacle.
But he joked about it. Walt
I
Bell
know.
said,
I'll
look at
I'll go back to the
Coach's
Darryl
Choice
Royal
tape. Yeah,
Darryl Royal running the wishbone if I have to.
Great Texas coach, kids, Longhorns. Hook
But
'em.
you can do all that. Again, you can have Akers in the backfield. You can have the diamond formation with 3 running backs. You've got to have more options running the ball than the running back that's standing right next to the quarterback because they know he's not running it.
Right.
So they all just fire at that dude. So you've got to figure out something to help him out. And I do think they're serious about that. And that's why I think this is a really important game and a really interesting game to see how drastic those changes are. Not even if they're effective. You want them to be effective, but you can't just keep banging your head against the wall. If you're trying to prove to a fan base and your team that you're trying to help you win games and score points. You can't just keep banging your head against the wall and running the same plays over and over again out of the shotgun with 1 running back there and 5 linemen.
But what about the point you were trying to make sort of devil's advocate-wise last show when you were talking about wouldn't you, Aslan, as a fan, be a little bit concerned if you saw a coach kind of do a 180 to a certain degree and change everything after 3 games?
Did I ask that?
Yeah, I mean,
I thought that was last week. Like if
was
he
it last week?
I thought if he went and changed things drastically. But yeah, and I get that because how much do you really believe in this system then?
Right. Yeah.
But context matters, and he could have never known that the offensive line would be this bad. So you have to make
Let's
adjustments.
hope he didn't. I mean, let's hope he didn't think that it was going to be this bad, but they were going to keep running these plays.
Yeah. So I think the Syracuse game proved to them once and for all, okay, this doesn't work. This can't work. This can't work. Because Samford, it did work.
Everything you put your
you know what it did? I mean, they had enough.
It worked the first half against Virginia Tech, 225 yards in the first half?
Yeah, so they had enough to think, okay,
right.
We are close. Mm-hmm. We are really close. You can understand how they thought they might be close.
Good point.
Syracuse kind of said, nope, you're not anywhere close. You have 1 first down with 3 minutes to go in the first half.
Did you see their celebration in the locker room, Syracuse, afterwards?
I heard about it.
Just talking about coming in our house. Whose house? Our house. Come on. Knock it off, Syracuse.
34,000 people there.
That wasn't Jameis Winston and Kelvin Benjamin walking into your building, man. Show respect.
It wasn't even Sean McGuire.
Just take the win and go home.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after this. It's Wake Up War Chant.
You're listening to Wake Up War Chant, all Noles, every day. Now back to Corey and Aslan.
All All right, Corey, I think that was enough optimism. Can I go back to being skeptical and cynical and just overall just an ornery human being?
Yeah, was that optimistic, that first segment you thought?
They're going to change stuff. They're going to change it. It's going to work.
Well, nobody said that.
Yeah.
But, they have to.
Well, here's the slight problem. And again, we're watching quite literally, 5% of practice almost? 10% of practice maybe?
10%, yeah.
The problem is, they come out and they're trying to compete. That's, the buzzword that Willie Taggart's always used. Let's go out there and compete. We need to see guys compete. And they compete when they do that null drill. I mean, you got 6 guys competing. You got 3 offensive guys going against 3 defensive guys. Well, heck, 7, really, when you think about it. You got the running back out there as well. And, I mean, right from the jump, your first-team guys. I think Mike Arnold had a pretty good win. But it might have been against Robert Cooper, who's a true freshman. I don't remember who he beat on his first rep. But he beat somebody, and then Greg Fry held his hands out like, Russell Crowe in The Gladiator before they made it to Rome, just like, are you not entertained? Like, look at my guy.
Or I would say he held him out like Kate Winslet on the top of the front of the Titanic when they're sailing towards the iceberg.
Okay. So you see that, you're like, all right, that's good. But then other guys who are going to be counted on, are losing to second-string defensive ends, second-string defensive tackles.
Yep.
And there's talent in Florida State's defense, so it's not an indignity to lose to them, but that's what happens. Willie's is hovering over them the entire time that we're out there at practice, which was, I don't know, I feel bad kind of for Greg Fry. Greg Fry kept saying the word fight. He kept hearing, we're going to have to fight for this, and if we want to get this, we're going to have to fight for that, and if we want to do this, we're going to have to fight for that. He kept saying the word fight. I'm like, all right, good, there we go, some juice in there. But then, so you're seeing these guys that they're going to be relying on the offensive line, still losing these one-on-one individual battles. And then in the brief part of practice that was open to us, thankfully, and I really am sort of hesitant to say this because I don't want this to get back, and then they'd be like, all right, well, we won't show it to you at all then. We got to see running receivers and quarterbacks work on some stuff, some timing stuff, some routes. They're working on double moves. They're working on, pretty much in and out routes, like post corner routes. They're showing post, but then cutting back out to the boundary. How much time are they expecting to have? What have we seen from 3 weeks that makes you think we can get off double moves at this juncture? That's what they're practicing. Now, again, it was for 2 periods.
Yeah.
You do have to keep these things, I guess, sharp and run these things and rep them so you don't lose it. But, golly, how about just focusing? Let's just go 26 periods of just, smash mouth sort of stuff. I know you guys still do quarterbacks and receivers got to do things, but let's just, not just hit the whole time, but, focus on inside run game. Something that you want to establish against.
Well, yeah, but even when you're doing that, the receivers would have to do something. I will say when it comes to the double moves, I think there's a chance you're going to see max protection a good bit. And if you have max protection, you can't. You need to run double moves. That's what max protection gives you the opportunity to do. If you're only running 2 or 3 people in a route, you can't just run something simple.
Yeah.
Because it's probably going to be covered.
Yeah,
so maybe they're going to have guys back there. Yeah. So you got to do a double move to confuse the corner and the safety, I guess. So I don't really have a problem with that necessarily. But, again, there's only – the ceiling obviously is only so high, and you're hitting your head on it right now because of this offensive line. There's nothing – I did think it was telling that Taggart was over there the whole time we were there. And I like that Fry is using that word because, it's one thing to not have a lot of talent. And maybe this offensive line doesn't have a lot of talent. You can be competitive, though. You can be, if you're Abdul
effort and
Bello,
attitude, or don't take any talent.
But once you keep getting your butt whipped, I get why Francois was like that. It's like, man, have some pride. Just quit having that guy dominate you. Step up to him.
Yeah.
Do something. Learn your techniques.
Do something.
Remember your
Hashtag
techniques.
it.
Yeah, hashtag do something. Remember your techniques. Fight and be competitive and win a battle. Go win a battle and then win 2 battles in a row and then win 3 battles in a row. You can't just keep getting embarrassed time after time. You're all they got. You've got to step up. There's nobody behind you. So you've got to figure it out. Have some personal pride. And I know you're inexperienced, but it's going to get a whole lot worse than Syracuse's defense. These guys have got to step up a little bit because these Clemson dudes will literally laugh at them after they sack your quarterback. If you don't have any personal pride, you got to take the fight to them. Be mean. Heck, even Louisville's offensive line in 2016 was a debacle by the end of the year, one of the worst in the country. They were talking mad noise to the Florida State defense that season. Yeah, it was 63-20.
Odell had to come out there.
Odell had to come out there and break up a fight because the Florida State defense just sat there and took it from these 5 Louisville linemen. Have some gumption.
Yeah.
Fight, man. Be a competitor. Be an athlete.
I mean, how much can you have though when you're getting pulled like that, left and right, every game? I mean, Joe Williams gets pulled, Abdul Bello goes in, Abdul Bello gets pulled, Joe Williams gets thrown back in there.
Bello didn't get pulled much because Jawan Williams only played like 7 or 8 plays that game. That was
I think Virginia Tech, Jawan got pulled and
then
Abdul
had to come back. And that's an issue, but it's also like you'd want him to be more like, and I guess this is pie in the sky, man. It's a lot easier said than done. I get how confidence in athletics works, but you'd want them to be like, oh, now I get to prove myself. Now I get to show them that I'm a man, I'm a badass. I'm one of the best guys on this team. But it seems like they go in there going, oh God, oh no, here we like that's how they block. They block as if they're scared to death. And it's it's going to get their quarterback hurt. And it's already ruined a season.
Did the psychology guy follow Jimbo to College Station?
I mean, he went everywhere. Like
Moad, Trevor?
Trevor Moad. He had like 10 or 12 schools. It's all the Saban disciples use him. Yeah. So I assume he's at Georgia now. He's shuffling back. Yeah. Once Florida State started losing a lot of games, you noticed he wasn't on the sidelines a lot last year when they really needed him.
Right.
He was in Tuscaloosa and Athens a lot.
Yeah.
That's how that works, I think.
Maybe he's like the harbinger. Like he'll let you know what teams to keep an eye on.
That's a pretty big scam. That's one of the bigger scams in college athletics.
Oh, knock it off.
Oh, you got to, why didn't it work last year's the year they needed the great psychology?
Well, he wasn't there, though. But he wasn't there. What do you want to do? He's not there. He can't do anything.
So he only hangs around when they're going to win championships?
Did Jimbo ask him to come out?
I'm sure he was getting paid by Florida State, I assume. He was part of the program. But that didn't work. It didn't take. Yeah. Maybe it only matters if you got really good players.
Well, I have a loser's mentality, so I'm not a good person to ask those sort of questions, too. My team falls behind like 20-0 in the first quarter. I'm probably like, actually, I say that as a fan, but when I actually played sports, like when I would play soccer, I'd play hockey, like I'd still go out there and play like an absolute madman just because I hate losing. But yeah, as a fan, you're just like, man, it's 21-0. It's the first quarter. We're terrible. We're going to lose this game.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that psychologist guy could kind of help me out, but maybe.
I don't know what he could help with these offenses. I mean, you get confidence by doing, not by hearing somebody tell you should be confident. Yeah. And I know I just told them that, but I they're here for a reason, right? I mean, you are big dudes. Try to fit. You are big dudes.
Large humans.
You can't be worse than the Western Michigan offense. You just can't be worse than the Western Michigan offensive line. So how did that happen? Explain it to me. Are you could all 5 of those guys in Western Michigan start at Florida State? Is that even possible?
Well, it was in Western Michigan. I mean, Syracuse had to go on the road.
Oh, well, I didn't realize that. Yeah, they didn't have the sauna. They didn't get to trap them in the sauna, the 90-degree sauna. Yeah. So anyway, man, it's I don't know how much better it can get. Honestly, they got to either start playing the young guys or go with no lineman. Have Eberle snap it to Francois, and then everybody else is a receiver or a running back, and it's like flag football.
Why are we so – this is what's kind of crazy to me right now at this point is that we're so – at least you and I are like comfortably numb to this. We're just resigned to it, and it's okay.
What's the alternative? Like getting fired up about? I mean, and that was kind of what
it's 41 years.
But
we've
that's
been on the right side of everything.
Yeah, but it's over, right? Like that's what I wrote about yesterday on War Chant. The column I wrote was –
Great column.
Thank you, buddy.
Really great column.
Is that – you've got to be relegated to that now. Like you've got to switch the lens you watch this season through. They're not. The streaks are done. Unless something. How could they win?
Literally, like my heart drops when you say that. That just.
But how are they going to win 5 more games from what we've seen? So right now, my mindset is okay. The streaks are done. They're over with. So what are you looking to see? How do we watch the rest of this season? Right. It's not a typical Florida State season. There's nothing to achieve. Try to beat Florida, I guess, at the end of the year. Yeah. Maybe Miami. I don't know how that would happen with that defense, but maybe. So you have to resign yourself to it and then just adjust how you watch football on Saturdays now. And Florida State fans are lucky. As I wrote in the column, it's been 40 years. You've gone your whole life without having to worry about a losing season. Now, you worried about losing seasons. Right. They were close, but they didn't happen. Thanks to Greg Reed punt return, thanks to reschedule and Louisiana Monroe, they didn't happen. They were close, but they didn't happen. Now you know a losing season's coming. Well, welcome to the rest of college football. Everybody's dealt with it. Alabama's dealt with multiple losing seasons in the last 4 decades. Florida's dealt with 2 in the last 4 years.
Losers.
right? Yeah. So Florida State's now seeing how the rest of the world has lived over the last 4 decades. You sometimes run into these seasons. It should not be this bad, obviously. But sometimes you run into these seasons. So what do you want to see the rest of the way? You can't get mad. Like, what? I guess what's the point of getting mad? Yeah. The anger should have already dissipated by now, subsided. It's done. They're a bad football team. Are you going to get mad when they lose? If they say they beat Northern Illinois 16-13,
right,
and then they lose to Louisville by 2 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns? Are you who's that person that's going to rush to the keyboard and type in all caps? Is it just a sounding board? As if they're surprised? How could anybody be surprised about this team playing bad football the rest of the way?
You hope for the best. I mean, there's a lot of people out there listening to the show that don't like the tone and the tenor that we're using right now. But, I mean, you still hope for the best.
Well, you hope for the best, but you can't be stunned by what you're seeing anymore. Like, everything, you've seen it. You know what this team is now. So getting angry about it accomplishes nothing. Yeah. Just for your personal mindset. Like, you can't be sitting there living and dying with every play on 3rd down. You know they're about to punt. You're relegated to the fact that they are not picking it up. He's not going to have time to throw, and they are going to be punting the football. So it just once you resign to that fact, and I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's an awful thing that 3 games in you'll resign to a losing season. But once you kind of come at it from that angle, it'll make the losses less painful. Now, Florida State fans are getting way too comfortable with losses lately. It's been going on for a while here. But I'll equate it to when you're cheering for a baseball team that's out of the pennant race in September. It doesn't mean you don't care how they do in September necessarily. You still watch the games, but you're watching for a different reason.
But, like, you wait so long for this. And like I've talked about.
Yeah, I know, that's the bummer.
You've had 2 prior years where your season's over in September, and then you're like, all right, finally, and it's his first season. Like, I wonder how many of those programs you mentioned, like the Texases, the Alabamas, the Floridas, when they finally have experienced just that rock bottom, was it like year 1 of a new coach, though? You always feel like it was maybe year 3 of a guy on his way out, or year 8 of some guy that's at the end of his rope. Like, it's like I don't know if that's almost made things a little bit more calming. I mean, if this was Jimbo right now, then we're going right into the iceberg, 1-2, looking this horrible. Like, is there more vitriol because people are? I mean, he won you a national championship, but he gave you a 7-6 season last year. Like, if he was still here, would there be more angst? Because that's a bizarre thing to me.
I think if he was here, it'd be more apathy. Like, one thing about what's going on right now, it's not apathy that the Florida State fans have. It's horror. It's abject horror. It's like, it's concern. Yeah. But if Jimbo was here again, and I don't know that they'd be 1-2. Maybe they're 2-1. Yeah. But with this talent, what would be?
But just say if they look like this, like if it was Jimbo calling these plays and they look like they can't do anything.
And the offense looked like it did last year, which again was much better than what we've seen so far. But if it was still a plodding 18-point, 20-point a game offense, and they were 2-1, and they were going towards another 7-5 season, it would be straight up apathy.
But I think right now 7-5, we would.
No, but it's a whole different situation now. I think this team with Jimbo Fisher might be a 7-5 team because
let's say they weren't. Let's say they're 1-2 with Jimbo.
With Jimbo,
his offense just what was it 24-3 loss of Virginia Tech in game 1?
Yeah.
I mean, let's say all the results
are the same.
And it was him. Like, are people much more pissed, less pissed, or would the whole apathy thing still kind of kick in?
I think it would be apathy, and the only anger wouldn't be – it obviously wouldn't be Jimbo needs to go. It would be, man, he needs to fire who's in charge of this offensive line. Yeah. And, there's no guarantee that after last year he was going to do that. So I don't know why this would be much better with him in charge. I think maybe with him they get to a bowl because it's not a new system. Right. And he could at least muster some offense with those linemen. But he wouldn't have been able to survive losing Dickerson and Derek Kelly either. I mean, it would have been a train wreck with him too.
Folks, if you're having problems with, at home and in life and you want to talk about it, give us a call at 850-792-5730. We'll use your call on the Renegade Express. We'll do that tomorrow as well as some calling questions. Let's step aside. I don't really have a lot more to talk about, Corey, but we'll figure something out to give these people something to listen to.
Did you hear that yawn?
I thought that was like
that was an audible yawn.
I thought it was a brain stretch. I thought you were getting ready for another segment. Your brain was just kind of.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what it was.
Speaking of inaudible sounds, let's talk about that when we come back. So we go War Chant.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Running out of you, running out of you, and I know you'll be running out of me.
Welcome back. Again, Renegade Express going down tomorrow most likely, probably even into Friday, 850-792-5730, or leave a question over on the Tribal Council of WarChant.com. If you're not a member, use the promo code WarChant30. Speaking about inaudible sounds, so your boy over here, Corey Clark, invited me out to grab a drink with him and his lady friend, or his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And,
I think she prefers that.
And everyone knows what it sounds like when your phone vibrates on a hard surface, right? Like when your alarm goes off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're just watching a football game at our local watering hole, and kind of, I'm like, oh, was that your phone, Corey? He's like, was it my phone? Some guy at the bar just let one rip, man.
Not only let it rip, that happens sometimes.
It happens.
He's sitting by himself, number one, at 11 o'clock watching a football game. That's fine. We do what we do as human beings. He lifted up to let it rip. Like he wanted to get leverage. He had to gird up to do it. And he knew we were right behind him. Like, it wasn't like he thought he was alone. There was a couple, maybe 2 seats down from him on the bar, and then we were in the table right behind him. Mm-hmm. And it was not a loud bar.
No.
They had the game on, but the volume wasn't really loud. And so it reverberated. And we all looked at each other like, he just did that. Like, he intentionally did that. Like, he didn't try. Usually you try to stifle one. Not my man. And he did it again later that you didn't hear, but I heard. Yeah. In the same thing, he lifted up, like to let it go, to let it fly. He didn't want the stool to trap it.
If this Florida State football team was a sound, would that be the sound?
I mean, that would be one of them. I would think of maybe like a plop into a toilet water. Like if you want to take that to the next step, okay. I think that would be. All right. In fact, the story I had, I took it out. I think I'm sure Ira would have taken it out anyway. But one of the lines was, we already know what this season is going to look like the rest of the way. And then I said, here's a hint. And I had a picture of a dog taking a crap.
Oh, my God. Come on, Warren. Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I kept it in for a long time. Like, I wrote that thing at, Monday evening, and then at Monday at midnight, it was still in there. I don't think Ira had seen it. Yeah. And then I'm like, you know what, I know Ira's going to take that anyway, and he's probably going to be really mad at me for leaving that in like I'm some dumb blogger that just puts in.
Do you do certain things just to make Ira's life miserable, like tough? Like, do you just leave certain things like, there's no way this is going to make Final Cut, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it.
No, I learned that a long time ago not to do that, because you'll say, oh, I'll just do something funny. This is the newspaper business. I'll just do something funny. I'll put it in there. I know my editor will read it, and he'll have a laugh and take it out.
But he won't.
Well, he might miss it, and then it gets in the paper, and then you've got to explain yourself.
Did that ever happen to you?
No, but it's I knew people that it happened to. I mean, I'm sure it did, but nothing outlandish. I never made up like crazy quotes just to make people laugh that were reading it. But so I know better than to do that, to just screw with Ira.
All right, let's get a little serious. Sorry about that, folks. Just
crazy though. That was a crazy situation. I've never experienced anything like that. Like when my friends would do it. I mean, your friends do it all the time around you. Not some rando at a bar, a quiet bar, just out of the blue, like he's in his living room.
Hopefully he's not a listener of the show.
Hopefully he is. Hey, man, if you're listening to this, grow up.
Oh, man.
I mean, don't do that. I mean, you're in public, man. Act like you're in public.
All right. Let's see, something football-related to talk about. So we somewhat salvaged this segment. I did notice a change in the demeanor of the offensive captain, which I think is a little bit encouraging. That would be Alec Eberle.
Okay.
Because I think Eberle's like the happy warrior. Like, no matter what, Eberle tries to stay positive, tries to stay upbeat, tries to smile despite the solemn look of all the people that are holding phones and cameras in his faces. Like, win or lose. Like, Eberle, goes out there and tries to be a pro about it. But he looked pissed, man. And not like in a rude, like he's trying to make us all uncomfortable piss, like being surly, just like, yeah, listen, it's frustrating when you see the same thing happen over and over again that you thought wasn't going to keep happening. So, I mean, the fact that he looks a little bit upset, I think I heard some of the beginning of Francois' interview, and I think Ira kind of asked him from the jump, listen, they're talking about maybe doing two tight sets, rolling the pocket out. What do you think about that? Is that, can you make those throws when you roll out? Is that difficult for you? He's like, no, I can do that. He's like, I like it. He's like, it's something that should hopefully give me more time. So they do seem receptive to it. But Everly did mention when I asked him, like, we're, these, guys like me who pretend like I know about football are throwing out all these ideas about things for you guys to do, but is it fair to expect you guys to be able to install this stuff and go ahead and run it like in 3-4 days time? And he's like, listen, yeah. He's like, when you go to the pros, like they give you new plays every single day. So you're expected to learn the plays and go ahead and run them. He's like, we'll do the same. I'm like, all right. I felt good about that. I'm like, that's a good mentality as opposed to just, listen, we're just going to trust, we're just going to trust the coaches with what the coaches are going to do. We have faith in the coaches. So like, listen, whatever they want to throw at us, we'll be able to handle it. He said something like, listen, we're on scholarship. We have to think too. We don't just play football. We have to be able to think too and be able to. So I don't know, stuff like that I thought was pretty encouraging. I felt like.
Well, we talked to Cole Minshew, like I mentioned earlier. I think maybe for the first time this year, at least for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I never heard his voice. I actually wanted to. I'm like, oh.
And I asked him about how he helps out those tackles, and not just with technique, like, hey man, you need to take more of a step out here and quit letting them get right to our quarterback, but just how to keep their heads up, like because they're kind of a laughing stock right now. If you just how do you keep their confidence and let them know they can do the job. And he mentioned, he had told them specifically, man, stay off Twitter, stay off social media because, Abdul Bello, that's embarrassing what that was. Not only him getting Derek Kelly too, not only just getting blitzed past, but then your quarterback angrily snapping away from you when you try to help him up. That became a video too that I retweeted because I think it said a lot. But you don't want to see that when you're 19 or 20 years old.
Oh, hell no. I sometimes I almost treasure into the waters of seeing the comments on the YouTube page, and I'm a grown-ass man. It pisses me off. I can imagine being 19,
yeah,
20.
I've made this point, and I'll continue to make this point. When I write a column that not controversial, but I know that some people will disagree with, I mean, I'm not writing anything to get a reaction. I write something because I believe it. I've always kind of been that way, and I'm usually pretty even-handed, and I'll there's gray area, which I'll admit to. It's never black.
Yeah, you don't seem like an overreactor, man.
No.
You handle things pretty.
But even still, I know there are going to be some people that disagree, and so I think it was last week, I wrote something. I don't even remember what it was, but it had like 300 comments in the message board, and I would never dive in.
The backpack thing, wasn't it? The backpack.
No, it was an actual column, so it was my opinion.
Yeah.
And when I see 300 comments, well, I know there's a good number of them that are going to disagree with what I said, even if it's 90% positive. That means 30 people in there telling me how dumb I am, and I know my personality. It doesn't hurt my feelings, but I want to explain. No. This is what I meant. This is where I'm right and you're wrong. And it just evolved from there. So don't even do that to myself. I don't even do that to myself because I know my personality. I'm going to argue back with those people. I'll never say thanks to the people that say, "Hey man, great job, spot on." It's always the people that disagree with me that get my attention. So I don't wallow into that. I don't wallow in that. I don't go dive into those waters. So why would 20-year-olds go dive on Twitter after they just got embarrassed? Yeah. And I don't care if they're on Twitter or not. But that's a good point, man. I hope they take Cole Minshew's advice and just don't do it to yourself. That doesn't mean we're the enemy and you need to keep the circle tight and you need to be insulated. Not all that. Just for your own psyche. I mean, get off Twitter if you're struggling, and that can you don't have to respond. You don't have to make
all walks
proclamations.
Of life. Yeah, like staying off social media whenever you're in a slump in anything, I feel like is always like a good idea.
Yeah,
because you're just getting inundated with nonsense. I mean, I just think there are certain days where I'll make a point of it. I'm not going to check the boards. I'm not going to check the posts I made about the podcast. I'm not going to check YouTube. I'm not going to check any of it until after noon, after 12 p.m. Because I don't want to start I forgot who. I think it might have been Daryl Morey, who's the GM of the Houston Rockets. I think said something. He's like, I don't look at any social media until probably 2 p.m. because if I look at anything in the morning, that's going to affect my entire outlook for the entire day.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? But that's smart. He knows himself.
Well, I think that's why I don't think it's so much like a Jimbo thing, like control freak, like no fun on my watch, like nobody do social media. I think it is like, listen, to just just don't even bother. There's nothing good going to come from it, really. You know, if you want to tweet something out like, hey, I love my your teammate gets hurt and you want to do some sort of encouragement thing, sure, then get off of it, man. You don't need to do anything else.
You're either with us or against us, and you better not hop on back on board later.
Yeah, I don't know
you can stop with that stuff, man. Go win some games before you start telling the fans they're either with you or against you.
Oh, hey, last thing before we go. This is actually somewhat a little bit important, but we don't really have a lot of information on it because they didn't want to share it with us, which is fine and understandable, but we should mention this, obviously, in the program. The whole players-only meeting thing.
Mm-hmm. Always a key to a great season. To unlocking a great season is to have that players-only meeting. That never, ever backfires.
I mean,
it just doesn't make a difference. It just doesn't, ever. What could they possibly say? Block better? Hey, receivers, go catch the ball. Make people miss.
Like, well, I just don't. Again, I just don't. Where did this all come from?
I mean,
nobody saw it coming.
It's cool that they care.
Yeah.
It's cool that they care, but players-only meetings are usually a sign that it's really about to get bad.
You think so?
Oh no, I mean it's already bad. It can't get any worse. I mean, again, this season is bad, so it is what it is. But they don't usually turn around anything. They just don't. You're stuck with what you're stuck with. You can't block defenses that have a pulse.
Didn't the idiots in 2004, the Red Sox, didn't they talk about things after the 3-0 hold to the Yankees and then go on and make history?
I don't know if they had a players-only meeting, but I do remember that 30 for 30 because Kevin Millar, who's the guy on MLB Network now, he was on that team. Yeah. He was good on that. He's a good player. Millar. He was talking, even 3-0, but they show him warming up before the game, like 3 hours before.
Telling Shaughnessy, he's like, they better not let us win one.
Yeah, don't let us win one.
Yeah.
Don't let us win tonight. That's what he kept saying. He's like, don't let us win tonight. Because if you let us win tonight, then we got Pedro and Schilling back-to-back, and then it's a Game 7, and anything can happen. Yeah. And it proved prophetic. But he still had that belief, even when they were down 3-0, as long as they won that game. What are they? You think Eberle's out there Saturday before the game? Don't let us win today, Huskies. Don't let us win today. Because if we win today, we got Louisville, Miami back-to-back. We win those two, oh boy. Anything can happen against Clemson. So, yeah,
let's get past Louisville and Miami first.
Yeah, I mean, those seem like pretty easy W's, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel
like this team plays well on the road.
Yeah, this was all about good vibes, making these guys the camaraderie thing. We're going to go to IMG and drop 150 Gs. And
that does matter. I don't want to dismiss that as it doesn't matter. It does. You want your team to play for each other, and I don't think they don't. Like, I think this team is close.
Yeah, I mean, like, why do you need to have a players only mean? Like, what gets remedied in these
things?
Oh,
that's just what 19-year-olds do, man. They think that's the answer. They're teenagers.
Oh no, don't
they're
diminish
teenagers.
It like that.
I mean, they are. It doesn't. There's nothing that. And in fact, if I was the head coach and I heard wind of a players only meeting, I'd be like, nope, coaches will be in there. We can have a meeting as a team, but the coaches are going to be in there too, because I want to make sure it's productive.
It's like, what could they really talk about? Because I don't see. I mean,
it's the
I
same.
see dysfunction in terms of production on the field, but I don't see guys yelling. I mean, other than
that's what
Francois doing
like,
things against Bello.
I'm sure it's the same stuff that any players-only meeting would have. Hey, it's about us in this room. We got to fight for each other. Over and over. Like, good, great. You should have been. You're doing that anyway.
I mean, we didn't realize that after Samford almost humiliated us at home. Like,
again, they won that game. So they felt good about things.
We were going to talk about it, but let's all go home. It's really late. The game started 2 hours late. Let's just all go home. Yeah. We'll come back tomorrow.
We'll have a players-only meeting after we lose to Syracuse next week. So they're just it's what every 19 or 20-year-old thinks they're supposed to do when they start to struggle. Right. Is, hey, man, let's all rally around each other. It's a players-only meeting. And I'm not saying there can't be some good that comes out of it. If you do clear the air and you call somebody out if they're not playing hard or not, I mean, that can be productive. But in the grand scheme of things, it's never going to turn a season around. How could it? You're the players you are. You're the team you are.
Well, it sounds like everybody's trying to do their part, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing.
Like, I'm gonna. Everything's on the table. Walt Bell. Walt Bell's going to have 25 different aliases after we're done with him.
But it sounded like Brian Burns was one of the guys that was talking a lot in the meeting, which is good because he's one of your better players. And real quick before we go. Man, I think Brian Burns has played literally almost every snap of the season. Like, he played – I don't know how often the defense was on the field on Saturday, but he played 83 snaps.
In that nonsense?
In that sauna, rushing the quarterback so much, he played 83 snaps. It's like, man, he's probably played 96% of the plays. So good for him, man. Like, they're using him. They need him. But he's the guy we thought he was. In preseason, and he is trying. He's really giving it his all.
Did he cramp? Was he one of the guys that cramped? I mean, I'm not.
Yeah,
sure.
he missed a couple of plays,
Yeah.
but he still played 83 plays.
I was trying to, and my phone's not working. Since we're at the Southwood offices, I don't have my laptop readily available. I was going to go on Pro Football Focus and pull some of those stats, but
I think he played every snap against Virginia Tech. Probably played most against Samford. Played 83 against Syracuse. So he's played a ton of snaps so far this season and has played well. And again, I think when you're out there all the time, that shows something to your teammates. And I think he does care.
And he's a guy that's producing, and he's a guy that
And if he's a guy that's talking in a players only meeting, that's a good sign. Because that guy's out the door. He's got 9 games left. His last season's probably not going to end in the bowl after his second season ended in Shreveport. This has not been the career he foresaw.
I guess so sad when
But he still cares. He still cares enough to not just go through the motions, but to actually try to rally these guys up. It's not going to make a difference, but we appreciate the effort, Brian.
Jeez, Court, come on, man. Have I just totally infected you with my just absolute sunshiny disposition?
No, I'm just resigned to it. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be realistic. This season is what it is. So we all got to figure out a different way. We got to change the way we talk about it, the way we look at it. I mean, are we going to be surprised if they score 1 touchdown on Saturday? Is that going to be stunning? Are we going to be even angrier? Or is it just going to be,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, this comes to something you guys have mentioned on Seminole Headlines so many times about you go into a season, you can be like, okay, 9-3 is cool, or, I can live with 8-4. And then it happens. And then you lose on a Saturday, and you see what happens that leads to the loss, and you get pissed off. Yeah, they hang 7. If they lose 31-7 in Northern Illinois at home, they lose 23-7. They lose 8-7 against Northern Illinois at home. Yeah. I mean, I'm resigned to the fact that this is not going to be a good season. I think we all are.
But from week to week, you're going to still allow yourself to get angry?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm different. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people like you. I'm more on the not that I would get angry anyway, but because I'm an objective journalist. Right. But I mean, I get that. I guess that as you see it, it's just going to make you mad, and then by Sunday you're over it, maybe, and you can joke about it in this gallows humor. But as it's happening, maybe you're depressed. I would think it would turn to frustration and
to me, it's more
anguish.
To me, it's been more after the fact. I watched that whole Syracuse game and really, I was by myself in my house. I just watched it. I mean, I don't even think my brother, and we didn't even have our group text message going at all. I just watched it. I'm just like, wow, this is terrible. But then later on, like Sunday, when I'm just like, golly, then you start seeing like the national people start. I mean, Dan Wolkin's tweeting about, mid-game about, just in case you're wondering, Florida State fans, it costs $21 million if you want to get your coach. You just see all these things start happening. You're like, and then it gets you more upset like after the fact. Like when it's happening, because yes, the 2 games that we saw, you're just like, all right, this is probably what it's going to be like. You hope for the best going to Syracuse, and it doesn't.
Well, and you thought that
was
the one where they were supposed to make the market.
Yeah, and they don't. You're like, okay, this is it.
Yep,
but
that's
then
what we got.
But it still happens, and it's crazy. Anyhow, but we'll be back tomorrow. We won't say the same things. We'll have different outlooks. We'll be talking to the defense, and then
let's talk about baseball or movies or something.
About to say, like, are we prepared? Do we need to I'm probably gonna have to get ready for the Notre Dame game. Do a solo show. You'll be with Brady probably taking him to Game 7 of the World Series by then.
Yeah, probably. The way the Braves are playing right now, I'm really excited about their postseason prospects.
Braves playing Game 7 of the World Series. Do you take Brady? Do you make everything? Do you do everything in your power to try to make it happen? Shy of spending like $5,000.
Yeah, probably. Only because my dad did. Like my dad had season tickets, so we got first cut of the playoff tickets, everything. And now I was 16. Yeah. I wasn't 10.
Right.
So it was a little different. But yeah, because I don't know if he'd ever get another chance. And I do want him. Like my dad did that stuff for me, so I feel like I owe it to my son to do that kind of stuff for him and not be just, I got to do it, but sorry, Brady, you don't get to live that life. So I would do everything I could to try to get him to a Game 7. Or just a clinching game, period.
Yeah.
Or maybe just a World Series game. I don't even care if it could be Game 2. I don't care. It'd be cool to be at a World Series game for a 10-year-old.
How many games did you go to? Was it the 95 World Series you guys won?
Yeah, I went to Game 1 and the last game, Game 6, when they won it. So I was there in the stadium with that, and I was there in the stadium for the Sid Bream sliding to get to the World Series in '92.
Like you're like the top 1% of a fan. Like you've
that's all my dad. That's all my dad. In fact, it's funny you say that because I think about how little I do get to do that stuff with Brady because of my job. Like my weekends are always taken in the fall, so I don't get many chances to go to football. I've never been to a football game and watched a college football game with him. He's come to Florida State games with Shanna, but never just sat and watched one with me. And, so that's kind of a bummer. So I definitely will Maybe even just a playoff game. Just take them to a playoff game at SunTrust this year if they make it.
Well, hell, bring him down to Tallahassee for the Northern Illinois game. He can see the last potential win of the season, of the worst season.
That'd be great.
I'm just kidding, everybody. We'll be a lot better tomorrow, or at least I'll be in a better mood. I'll try to be in a better mood. Corey's awesome as always. Thanks for listening, everybody. It's Wake Up War Chant.
The Sod Cemetery, Osceola and Renegade, and of course, the War Chant. These are great traditions known to all Seminole fans. If you are a card-carrying, garnet and gold-wearing Knoll, don't you deserve a site that is truly dedicated to covering FSU sports? WarChant.com's staff has over 50 years of experience covering the Seminoles. WarChant.com is the only FSU outlet with a full-time recruiting analyst in Tallahassee. Plus, it's the only site with a full-time videographer and a daily podcast, 100% dedicated to FSU sports. Why act like Gators and settle for second best? WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.